What if your brain was warning you through smells no one else could detect? Not memory loss, not confusion, just a strange, lingering odor that only you can sense, even when nothing's there. For thousands of people, that's exactly how it starts. Phantom smells aren't just strange. They're one of the earliest clues that something deeper is going wrong in the brain, often years before anyone suspects dementia. In this video, you'll discover what to watch for and why dismissing these eerie scents could mean missing your only early warning. Let's begin with number 1, smoke or something burning. Dorothy, 74, began smelling cigarette smoke constantly, even though no one smoked and there was no fire. She cleaned her house top to bottom, replaced filters, even called the fire department, but the smell never left. It followed her from room to room, day and night, until she began questioning her own senses. 2 years later, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Scientists found that phantom smoke odors are among the most commonly reported in people developing early cognitive impairment. This is because the olfactory cortex, the part of the brain that processes smell, is often one of the first regions damaged in Alzheimer's. As the neurons in this area begin to break down, the brain may start creating a false signal, like the strong scent of something burning, even when the air is completely clean. This isn't your imagination, it's your brain firing the wrong way, sending warnings through the one sense most people never think to question. Number 2, rotten eggs or sulfur. That was 3 years before his Lewy body dementia became official. Henry, 77, complained that his home smelled like a gas leak, specifically like sulfur or rotten eggs. He even had the gas company check the lines twice, but they found nothing. The smell came and went, usually stronger at night. It followed him everywhere, impossible to ignore yet invisible to everyone else. A clinical study linked phantom smells involving sulfur, rotten eggs, or gas-like odors to disruptions in the brain's limbic system, a region deeply involved in emotion, memory, and sensory interpretation. These aren't just unpleasant smells. They're neurological misfires, signs that the brain's ability to process sensory input is starting to unravel. What feels like a physical, environmental issue is often the brain projecting something that isn't there, and it usually goes unrecognized as a dementia symptom until it's too late. Number 3, garbage or dead animal. Melinda, 70, started smelling what she described as rotting meat in her kitchen, her car, and even in her clothes. Her family couldn't smell it, and no source was ever found. At first, they thought it was depression, but 4 years later, she was diagnosed with early-onset dementia. Recent data suggests that phantom odors involving decay, like garbage, dead animals, or rotting meat, are closely tied to olfactory hallucinations in people at risk for frontotemporal dementia. These smells activate areas of the brain responsible for survival instincts, which may become distorted as degeneration begins. The brain misfires, triggering signals of danger when nothing's there. And unlike real smells, these can linger for hours or days, leaving people disturbed, disoriented, and often too embarrassed to tell anyone. That silence delays diagnosis, even as the damage quietly spreads. Number 4, chemical or cleaning product smells. 3 years before his Alzheimer's diagnosis, Carlos, 75, insisted he could smell bleach or ammonia, especially in public places like buses or waiting rooms. His wife assumed it was temporarily, but it got worse. Eventually, he refused to enter some rooms, claiming they were full of chemicals. He even started avoiding medical offices and restaurants, convinced the smell was stronger in places with crowds. A medical review found that phantom chemical smells, including strong cleaning agents, paint, or gas-like fumes, are frequently reported in the early stages of cognitive decline. This may be due to hyperactivity in damaged olfactory neurons or faulty cross-wiring between the brain's sensory and emotional circuits. What makes these smells so alarming is that they often trigger panic or nausea, even though nothing is physically present and no one else can detect them. Number 5. Burnt rubber or melted plastic. Teresa, 78, told her son she kept smelling burning rubber in her kitchen and feared her toaster was malfunctioning. But every time he checked, there was nothing wrong. The toaster was unplugged. They even replaced it, but the smell remained, lingering at random times and growing stronger at night. 2.5 years later, she was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. A major study uncovered that phantom industrial odors, like burning rubber, plastic, or electrical fire, often appear in people developing dementia with abnormal protein buildup, particularly alpha-synuclein, which disrupts normal brain signaling. These smells tend to be sharp, unfamiliar, and jarring, which is why they're often reported before other symptoms appear. Unfortunately, they're also often dismissed as anxiety, paranoia, or even environmental sensitivity until it's too late to ignore the real cause. Number 6. Raw sewage or wastewater. 2 years before her dementia became official, Eleanor, 76, became convinced her plumbing had failed. She smelled something like sewage or toilet water, especially near the sink or in bed. Her son called a plumber twice, but no issues were ever found. The odor came and went, haunting her sense of reality and making her feel increasingly isolated. Research suggests that phantom smells resembling sewage, waste, or decay are linked to dysfunction in the brain's odor detection and filtering systems. This becomes especially apparent when regions responsible for emotional interpretation begin to deteriorate. The scent isn't just unpleasant, it's deeply unsettling and often tied to a growing disconnect between sensory input and perception. It's often misdiagnosed as poor hygiene, anxiety, or even hallucinations. But in reality, these phantom odors are a neurologic red flag, especially when they keep returning without cause. Number 7. Blood or rusty metal. Vincent, 72, began saying that his food smelled like blood or tasted like iron. He even stopped eating meat, convinced something was off. He described the scent as metallic, like coins or a bloody nose, especially near sinks and silverware. After a series of cognitive evaluations, he was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. A large-scale study showed that phantom metallic smells, including blood, rust, or iron, are strongly linked to disruptions in the brain's memory processing networks, especially the hippocampus and adjacent olfactory areas. What makes this symptom more alarming is that it often shows up alongside early taste changes, leading to appetite loss, food aversion, and nutritional decline. When this kind of smell lingers or returns frequently, it's not just strange, it's a possible early marker of neurodegeneration, quietly unfolding before anyone suspects it. Number 8. Unidentifiable off odors. 2 years before she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, Patricia, 79, couldn't describe what she was smelling. She just knew something was wrong. She'd say, "Something smells off, like spoiled air." No matter where she went, the scent followed her. Her family brushed it off as anxiety, until she began forgetting names and repeating questions. Studies indicate that people in the earliest stages of dementia often describe a vague, unpleasant smell they can't identify, sometimes called an olfactory distortion. This is usually caused by early atrophy in the olfactory cortex and limbic regions, where the brain assigns meaning to smells and emotions. When these systems falter, the brain knows something is wrong, but can't explain what. The result is a haunting, ambiguous scent that lingers with no clear source and no name. It's unsettling, persistent, and impossible to ignore once it takes hold. Number 9. Phantom perfume or sweet floral scents. Lucille, 80, started smelling perfume in empty rooms, a scent she described as familiar but eerie. Sometimes it smelled like roses, other times like talcum powder or something old-fashioned. Her doctor initially thought it was a sentimental memory tied to grief or aging, but within 2 years, Lucille began having trouble recognizing faces and places, and was later diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. Recent evidence supports that phantom floral scents, particularly perfume powder or soap-like odors, are tied to damage in the temporal lobes, which are responsible for combining smell with memory and emotion. What makes this smell so chilling is that it feels personal, like the scent of someone you once knew, but can't quite place. In many cases, these hallucinations trigger confusion, nostalgia, or fear, and they're often overlooked until more obvious signs set in. They thought they were just imagining things, but what they were really sensing was the beginning of something deeper unraveling inside their brain. These smells didn't come from the air, they came from the damage already taking hold. The earlier you notice it, the more time you have to act. Because once memory starts to slip, the window begins to close. And by then, it's no longer just a smell, it's the sound of time running out.
And there you have it. What are your thoughts? Next, dive into this video for more essential tips to transform your health and help you thrive. You're going to love it. Thanks for watching Healthy End, and we'll see you there.